Sometimes we combine operations together in one expression, and we have to do things in a very specific order. When we're working with the order of operations, we're going to look for parentheses first, and we're going to perform whatever's in the parentheses. Then we're going to look for exponents, and we're going to perform that calculation. And then we look at multiplication, division. So this is multiply, divide, but not in that order. You're going to multiply or divide from left to right. From left to right. And then our last step will be to look for addition, subtraction. So we'll add or subtract. Again, not in that order, but in the order from left. So it doesn't mean that addition comes before subtraction. It just means that we're going to add, subtract together, but we're going to go from left to right. So here's a good example, 3 minus 4 times 2 of a simple order of operations. We're going to first look for parentheses. There are no parentheses, so we can move on to step 2. Exponents, we look for any bases that have an exponent, and there are no bases with an exponent, so we are able to move on to step 3. Step 3 says look for multiplication division from left to right. When I read this example, it says 3 minus 4, there's no multiplication division in there, times 2. And there's where my multiplication is. So I have to do this 4 times 2 first. So I'm going to have 3 minus 4 times 2 is 8. Now I can go to step 4 and say add or subtract from left to right. 3 minus 8, and 3 minus 8 is negative 5. Okay, we're going to try. You can see we've got many here to try. We're just going to continue to practice with the order of operations. And we're going to continue to use our steps 1, 2, 3, 4. So we go back to our first step and we look for parentheses. We have 12 divided by 3 plus 18 divided by 2. There are no parentheses, so I move on to the next, exponents. I don't see any exponents, so I move on to the step 3. It says multiply, divide from left to right. So I have 12 divided by 3, that's 4. So I have 4 plus 18 divided by 2. And as I read this, I'm still looking for multiplication division from left to right. 4 plus 18 divided by 2. Well, 18 divided by 2 is 9. So I have 4 plus 9, and 4 plus 9 is 13. Okay, so those first two examples allowed us to work with steps 3 and 4. We're going to now look at a problem that has some exponents. But I always go back to my PEMDAS, and I always look for that first step of parentheses. And I have 9 minus 3 squared divided by 9 times negative 1. Now that negative 1 looks like it might be parentheses, but when I look inside the parentheses, there's nothing for me to do. So now I go on to step 2, which is exponents. And the exponents would be this right here. Now remember that that exponent is only attached to the 3. So we're going to have 9 minus 3 squared is 9 divided by 9 times negative 1. So I'm done with step 2 with my exponents, and I can move on now to multiplication division from left to right. I'm not going to do 9 minus 9. I'm going to do 9 minus 9 divided by 9 times negative 1, but I have to divide from left to right, so 9 divided by 9 is 1, and then I have times negative 1. So let me just show you what I did here. 9 divided by 9 is 1. And then that value is going to get multiplied by -1. 9, and now we're going to take 1 times -1. 9 minus 1 times -1 is -1. And 9 minus a -1 is 10. Now, I'm going to just look at this part right here. So I want to look at this part right here, because that part is the part that I think if you were going to get confused, that would be the part that you're going, wait a second, I want to look at that one more time. So look, I'm going to write this first part in black, 9 minus, and then 9 divided by 9 times -1. 9 divided by 9 times -1. So that's a multiplication division from left to right. So from left to right, I'm going to use some purple here. 9 divided by 9 is 1. So this right here is 1. And then 1 times -1 is -1. And then remember, we still have 9 minus. And then 9 minus -1 is 9 plus 1, which is 10. Okay, let's try another. 8 minus 2 times 3 minus 9. This time we have parentheses. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into the parentheses and simplify that expression. And I'm going to, in the parentheses, look for more parentheses or exponents. And if I don't find those, I'm going to multiply, divide from left to right, which I can see I already have. So I have 8 minus 2 times 3 is 6, and then minus 9. 8 minus 6 is 2, minus 9, and then 2 minus 9 is -7. If you're getting comfortable with these, you can press pause and you can try an example yourself, or you can just go right along with me, maybe try to stay a step ahead. Now, 2 to the 4th plus 2 cubed minus 10 divided by -1 to the 4th. I don't see any parentheses that involve calculations that I have to perform inside the parentheses. So I'm going to move to the exponents. And I have 3 bases that have exponents. I've got 2 to the 4th, 2 cubed, and then -1 to the 4th power. So I'm going to simplify those first. 2 to the 4th is one of those math facts that hopefully you'll end up memorizing. 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 is 16, plus 2 times 2 times 2 is 8, and then minus 10, not doing anything with the minus 10, nor am I doing anything with the divided by. But I am going to take that -1 to the 4th power, and -1 to the 4th power is +1. So I'm going to put a 1 right there. Now from left to right, I look for multiplication, division, which I have right here. 10 divided by 1 is 10. So we have 16 plus 8 minus 10. 16 plus 8 is 24 minus 10. 24 minus 10 is 14. Got a few more examples here. 9 minus, in parentheses, 3 minus 5, parentheses cubed, minus 4. We have parentheses, so we're going to simplify inside the parentheses first. That's going to give us 9 minus, and then in the parentheses, 3 minus 5 is -2 to the 3rd power minus 4. Now we can perform our exponents. 9 minus this negative 2 cubed is going to be negative 8. Negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2 is negative 8 minus 4. 9 minus a negative 8 is 9 plus 8, so that's 17. And 17 minus 4 is 13. Next example, we're going to look for our parentheses, and we indeed have parentheses right here. So we're going to perform this order of operations inside. And inside these parentheses, which are brackets, I've got more parentheses. So I'm going to have to perform this calculation first. So we have 2 cubed plus 2 to the 4th minus 5 times the quantity, 8 minus 4, times 9 minus 10 is negative 1 squared. Now we can look inside the parentheses here, and we can go to our next step, which would be look for exponents. And we have exponents right here. Negative 1 times itself is positive 1. So we've got 2 cubed plus 2 to the 4th minus 5 times the quantity, 8 minus 4. Negative 1 squared is 1. 2 cubed plus 2 to the 4th minus 5. And then in the parentheses, we have 8 minus 4 times 1 is 4. 2 cubed plus 2 to the 4th minus 5 times 8 minus 4 is 4. Now we can move on to our exponents. 2 cubed is 8, plus 2 to the 4th is 16, minus 5 times 4. 5 times 4 is what we're going to do next. 5 times 4 is 20, so we have 8 plus 16 minus 20. 8 plus 16 is 24, and 24 minus 20 is 4. Next example, we have what looks like a fraction, so we're going to work with the numerator. Simplify the numerator to a single value. We'll simplify the denominator to a single value, and then we'll perform that division, or we'll simplify our fraction. So in the numerator, we're going to have 5 squared minus 3 squared. Well, that's going to be 25 minus 9. And then in the denominator, working from left to right, we have 2 times 6 is 12 minus 4. We're going to continue with that numerator. 25 minus 9 is 16. So we have 16 squared. And in the denominator, 12 minus 4 is 8. Now we can take 16 times 16 and then divide by 8, or we can expand this and say 16 times 16 divided by 8. And now we have a fraction that we can simplify. Well, 16 is the same thing as 2 times 8. And I only need one of those 8s, so I'm going to have 2 times 8 times 16. Just so you can see what we did, I took this 16 and I made it 2 times 8. And there was a reason for that. And the reason I did that was because I have an 8 in the denominator, and 8 over 8 is 1. So that leaves us 2 times 16 in the numerator, which is 32, and a 1 in the denominator, and 32 over 1 is 32. Okay, last example on this page, we have the absolute value of 10 times negative 5 plus 1 times negative 1. These absolute value bars act as parentheses. However, they have a very special purpose there in that they're not just parentheses, they're grouping symbols where I have to multiply or do whatever calculation is inside those absolute value bars first and then take the absolute value. So I'm going to take 10 times negative 5, which is negative 50. The absolute value of negative 50 plus 1 times negative 1. Inside these grouping symbols, I can still do this calculation, still considered a grouping symbol. The absolute value of negative 50 is positive 50 plus 1 times negative 1. And now I can go to our multiplication. 1 times negative 1 is negative 1. So we have 50 plus negative 1, or 50 minus 1, which is 49. And one more order of operations. So if I'm me, I'm going to encourage you to try this one on your own. So I would press pause and then come back and look at it. Okay, if you're coming back to look and see how you did this problem and if you did it correctly, I would take the negative 2 cubed first, which is going to be negative 8. So I'd have negative 8 plus 4 times 4 is 16. And then in the denominator, I would have 2 times 3 minus 25 plus 3 times 7. The numerator is going to simplify to be positive 8. Negative 8 plus 16 is positive 8. And in the denominator, I'm going to have 6 minus 25 plus 21. Now 8 is going to stay in the numerator, but the denominator, 6 minus 25, is going to be negative 19. Negative 19 plus 21 is 2, and 8 divided by 2 is 4.